Although usually I
Hey everybody, this is Game Time with Doc, Lurch, and Angel, and we're here every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're coming at you now. We talked that we might have canceled this week's show, but we did not end up doing it, so that's great. Everybody made it through without severe health traumas or whatever, so that's a success. As some of you know, last week I was dealing with a 17-year-old that had COVID, so there was a little bit of worry, and there's a couple other things that happened throughout the week. But anyway, we're here. We cover anything and everything going on in the nerdy community, the nerdosphere as I like to call it. And as is now our tradition, we like to start off asking how everybody's week has been. But first, I'm going to do a quick sound check just to make sure you guys can hear us okay. So let's do a check 1 2 check 1 2. So let's do a check
1 2 check 1 2.
Hey, what's up? It's your boy.
Hey, what's up? Hey, we all sound good to me. Okay.
Oh, that's so crazy.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna say anything, but yeah, that was.
Oh no, it was super crazy. I did not have any faith. I didn't have any faith in that whatsoever.
We don't rehearse this or anything. We just kind of blurt it out sometimes. You get us raw and uncut. Anyway, as normal, we're going to kind of go around and see how everybody's week's been. Let's go ahead and start with Angel. How's your week been? Anything highlightable?
Well, I don't know if you guys wound up canceling last. Did you cancel last week? Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
Wait. Did we?
No.
No, I don't think we
did.
did.
We had a show.
I wasn't able to make it because my tire blew and I was rolling down the highway in heavy wind with the donut.
Yeah.
And I just needed to focus.
We ended up doing the show. We were going to end it early, and we still ended up going over by a few minutes.
Yeah. So that was what happened back then. Ever since then, man, you're gonna hear me coughing a lot. I've been sick this week. I have not been feeling my best. My fever broke on Sunday morning, so I was feeling okay enough to do the campaign, but even that was kind of like, not my best DMA.
Right.
Other than that, there's literally been nothing like going on. Time doesn't stop for me, so like I'm working while I'm sick. So just being sick and working, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, I totally hear you there. When I worked, work didn't stop for anybody. You still had to work, so you went in if you had to. I'm just changing my background image.
Lurch, how was your week?
Well, not to bore everyone with the same old, doing the whole helping Allie with her cancer treatments and whatever. Which has been an exhausting week. But Thursday's supposed to be her last radiation, and that's been a lot of the hardest stuff. But besides that, I got my first ever manicure, where I got my nails all fancied up.
Professionally done.
Like these gold sparkles and then these blue and black halves. It's my first ever manicure. It felt really good. They kind of like massage your hands at the end of it, and that probably did the most good of anything. I've seen Ant-Man and Wasp, Quantumania twice now. I like it a lot. To see it twice in theaters, I had to like it a lot.
Within a couple of weeks, yeah. And I did the same thing, so
Yeah. The timing on it was really difficult to pull off, but I managed to squeeze in a second viewing of it.
And note, people, that he's paying for these separate because he has a season pass here, but they're not over there where he is. So he paid 2 extra tickets.
Yeah, I don't have my membership up here. There's no AMC theaters in the area. So, for the second showing, because of my timing, my scheduling, I wasn't able to eat anything, so I had to eat at the theater. That was my dinner, was at the theater. But they got some bomb-ass hamburgers at that theater.
Yeah, the trouble is the food at theaters is just way gougey.
This wasn't so bad. It was only like $13 for a burger and fries.
Actually, there's a lot of fast food and sit-down places where you can't pay less than that. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, it was comparable. The prices for the burger and fries was comparable to a regular diner.
I was going to like Ruby Tuesdays or something. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be exorbitantly expensive, but it was.
Yeah, that's not terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid when I went with Ralphie because his birthday was the day before. I went ahead and bought the drinks. Normally, that's his responsibility, and it's $6 a drink plus there's a service fee and everything. You end up paying like with tip $20 for 2 drinks, at the Alamo.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So $13 burger and fries ain't bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got a couple other things, so my total wasn't $13. I got those, and I got a soda, and I also got a popcorn. I don't remember what the total on the whole thing was, but I remember like on the menu it was like I think it was $12.99 or maybe $13.99 for the burger, and it came with fries. It was like a double pattied burger, and it was actually a legitimately good burger. Like I'd be willing to go there and just to eat some of their food.
That's good.
And so, like, if they were closer, I'd probably go there just to eat. But it's a little bit out of the way. I'm passing up a bunch of other restaurants. But, and then, been reading Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's been really good so far. It's been really good so far. I'm not very far. I'm only in like chapter 4, maybe.
Okay.
But most of my time reading it is sitting at the hospital while Allie's getting treatments or whatever, and just breaking out the book and
sure.
A few pages at a time.
Now, Allie doing her last treatment. Does that mean you guys are going to be coming back to Springfield soon?
That's the goal. Our current schedule shows us we should be coming back to Springfield next week. It'll be after this podcast. It'll be after next week's show. But we're hoping to be back by like Thursday or Friday next week.
Well, that's cool. That means that you'll be in Springfield when the D&D movie comes out, which will make it a little bit more convenient for you.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to go see it together, Lurch?
Yeah, we'll have to get... should bring the girls to see it, too. Just all of us go together.
The whole party. That's a great idea.
Yeah, just try to get the whole party. Maybe we'll do it for the Alamo for that one. Just all of us get together, the whole party together.
If you do the Alamo, I could possibly go because I've got season pass to the Alamo.
Yeah, like it'll cost me a little more because I don't have a pass for the Alamo. But shoot, like it's a movie that I know, it's a D&D game, or D&D movie. I think it'd be cool to get the D&D group together as well as possible
and it's
to watch it.
Put a lot of effort into it. As for me this week. Not much. Like I said, I had to deal with a 17-year-old that had COVID. Luckily, neither me nor Allison got it. We did have to worry, though, that cats can get it from humans. They don't typically transmit it back to humans, but they can get it really bad. So we had to, I had to pull the cats away while we were waiting for the girlfriend's test. I even had to come in and take her kitty out of her room. And it broke my heart because the kitty is like glued to her side most of the time. But I had to pull the kitties out because we don't want these kittens getting hurt. And now if you hear yowling in the background, the female cat is in heat again. So you may hear her when she goes yowling around because she wants to let everybody know that she's in heat. I've been playing a lot of Wild Terra 2. And I'm telling you, the granularity of the crafting system in this game is absolutely amazing. I love it. It's really, really good. I wish the combat system was better, but the crafting system is to die for. If you're one of those PvE players that loves crafting, this is a good game. And I think they've got the packs on sale now for like 30% off for the next week or so. If you want to get on, the packs are a little pricey for some of them because you got packs that come with like dragon mounts and things, and the dragon mount has got like a 100% speed boost on it compared to regular mounts in the game. So but it's a good game. Other than that, just been messing around, watching a few shows, chilling out, and not doing a whole lot. Kind of missing playing D&D, but otherwise we're doing okay. Now we're going to get into the show itself, and we're going to start off with Angel's topic, which is the new 1D&D playtest covering Druids and Paladin classes. Also, I did want to mention before we go into this, for those who are looking for an alternative to D&D, I normally give you heads ups on these things that are got a lot more time in this. There's only really 2 or 3 days left. But there's a humble bundle out there for getting started with Pathfinder 2E that for like $28, it's one of those pay what you want bundles and goes to charity. But if you pay at least $28, you get like all 28 books in the bundle. Now, it does not include the base core books, but still, that's a heck of a bundle for someone wanting to get into Pathfinder 2E. So I did want to mention it, even though, like I said, you only got a couple days.
There's no Kickstarter.
Hold on. You're underwater again. You're underwater again. Give it a minute. Every time we go to you, that's when you go underwater.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think I can hear you now. So start over. Then you're underwater again. What is up with this? Okay, let's take a beat real quick. For those of you who are doing the playtest for Project Black Flag, I'll just give you a quick update while we give him a chance to stabilize. This week is when they're taking the surveys for the first packet. So if you've done any playtesting on the first packet of Black Flag, you can put your opinions in to help shape the new Black Flag project. Words hard. And help shape an alternative to D&D. That's not saying I'm not saying to keep playing D&D, but it is nice to have an alternative open source gaming platform for everybody, so we don't have to worry about them going in and trying to change the license on D&D again or anything. Although they didn't make it a Creative Commons now, so they shouldn't do it. You want to try again now, Angel?
I think it's because I'm surrounded by box trucks that it's hurting my signal.
Yeah. You're sounding good.
I'm trying to get away from them now, but
you're sounding pretty good now. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you're talking about the 1D&D playtest, so go ahead.
Yeah, the 1D&D, so I'm going to say something pretty controversial, and I also might lose people credit. I'm in some towers. We'll see. The Druids have changed.
I don't want to stop you again. But I don't know about Lurch, but
maybe we should come back to him in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to skip you, go to another topic, and come back. because it's like every time we start, you go
I'm
underwater.
current. There is currently every time I see cell towers that I know are not my cell phone, I lose signal next to them, and that's how I know where the dead zones are. And you always come to me whenever I hit these
Okay.
blinking fucking towers.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna go, I guess, and this is the bigger topic for this week anyway, because a lot's been happening in the gaming world, console gaming world specifically. So let's go ahead and go over to Lurch's topic for the week, which is concerning the state of play from last week and also an update on Pokemon, I believe.
Yeah. I'll just mention the Pokemon business really quick. I didn't want to take up a whole nother segment on the Pokemon side of things. There was a Pokemon Presents, and if you're like a kid who's really into like Pokemon Unite or Pokemon Cafe and some of the other stuff, or you want to get into like the card games, they got like commemorative stuff from like the first generation that they're doing. They got some neat stuff. The only thing that really interests me personally from the Pokemon Presents is the DLC that's coming out that they announced for Scarlet and Violet for later this year. And there's going to be like 2 different releases. I think it's like Mystery of Area Zero or something like that. So I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just want to mention that we did get announcements that we are getting DLC. We expected to get DLC, but now we've got kind of release windows and a big idea. We're going to get some new Pokemon. There's also like a new raid out with a couple new Pokemon to fight. But what I really just want to talk about was the PlayStation State of Play.
Right.
And
Hold on. While we're talking about Nintendo, before I lose my signal, can I please say that about 4 or 5 days ago, it was Kirby Day, and they released Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which was originally released on, I believe, the Wii or the Wii U, and now it's playable on the Switch.
yeah, I'm going to be getting that myself. It looks like it's going to be a fun game. I've not played the older versions.
It was really fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a case of I want to wait until after Allie's done using the Switch for Final Fantasy. Like she's playing Final Fantasy 8 herself on that while I'm playing it on my Steam Deck. And then whenever we're in a situation where she's not using my Switch all the time, I'll download Kirby and give it a play.
We could play it together online.
Yeah, it's got co-op.
Yeah.
Cool.
4 players.
Okay, so the state of play. We've got a few things. That most of it was showing us things of more details or more information about games we already knew of. Like we got a little bit about Destiny 2 Lightfall, which I haven't played Destiny in years. I have to say that these previews for Lightfall, this expansion here that they're putting out, or the new content, looks really, really cool. I don't think it's going to talk me into playing Destiny again yet, but I bet anyone that's a Destiny fan is going to just freaking love this, because it does, even as a non-Destiny player these days, it looks really cool. But the thing I was going to talk about the most is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. This game got like 15 minutes out of the 45-minute show, and was, I think, the most disappointing thing they could have showed.
Yeah, that's what you were saying on Facebook, actually.
Yeah. Well, and you and I had kind of like the different, like when I first talked to you about it, you seemed kind of excited about the previews you saw. What changed?
Well,
I think the gist of it I saw was he was a little disappointed that it all seemed to be the same gameplay.
Yeah, no, I mean like we talked immediately after you saw it and you were okay with it. I'm saying like what's the difference now between then that you have an issue with?
I mean, it's kind of the same issue. It's just, well, the issues I had exist. They just kind of like had more time to brew. Like thinking about the fact that none of the characters seem to play like you would expect any of them to play. It looks like a generic looter shooter game with a Suicide Squad skin on it. Like
you were saying,
everyone
kind of had it, but that was it because he is a looter shooter.
Yeah, yeah. So you would think of King Shark, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang. Of those four, Deadshot would be really good with the guns and be using lots of guns. All four use lots of guns. That's the whole game, is the four of them using guns.
Yeah.
You're basically, in one way or another, everyone is basically flying and shooting things. It's just, it looks really generic, flying around shooting purple bad guys.
And Boomerang has never picked up a gun in my knowledge.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, it looks like all Captain Boomerang does with his boomerangs from the trailer is use them to teleport. I don't think I ever saw him use his boomerang to hit anybody. He, like, throws it somewhere because he's got it attached to it's not literally a teleport, but it's like a teleport. He's got a Speed Force thing attached to his arm that, like, charges his boomerangs, and then he throws the boomerang somewhere, and then super speed runs to that boomerang. Which is not what a boomerang does. A boomerang you throw and it comes back. You don't throw it and then run to the boomerang. What the fuck?
If anything, that sounds more like Captain Boomerang 2.
And isn't that kind of a weakness? Whenever you throw a boomerang, anyone, a child, knows where that boomerang is going to be. So like like the point of super speed is to get a leg up on an enemy, but you're only as fast as you can initially throw the boomerang and hope that your enemy doesn't know the trajectory of your boomerang, because like that just telegraphs your move.
Well,
yeah.
Also,
it does look like. Go ahead, Doc.
Just to point out, there's a major misconception. Yes, boomerangs traditionally are thrown so that they come back to the thrower, but there are other trick shots that you can do to change the trajectory of the second leg of the boomerang thing, so it doesn't necessarily come back to you. It can also shoot to a 45-degree angle on either side.
Yeah.
So there are trick shots with the boomerang that a lot of people don't think. Everybody just thinks it comes back to you all the time.
Right. Well, it coming back to is the unique property of boomerangs. But yeah, you're right. You can control it to go whatever direction if you're good enough. When I had a boomerang, I was lucky when I got good enough to get it to come back to me. It did often veer off in other directions because I wasn't very good.
I remember playing with him as a kid too.
He does seem to have like a special move where he throws out like a bunch of boomerangs and then he like super speed runs between them, like hitting people with like melee damage as he runs past them. I was like, okay, so you're just a crappy Flash, I guess.
This is reminiscent of the boomerang from the current Flash episode.
At least on the Flash show, he throws boomerangs at people and then they spark out electricity and stuff. It's trick boomerangs. He's doing stuff with them. He's trying to do damage with the boomerangs.
But the whole Speed Force thing, it smacks of the Red Death influence on Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, it's true. And so we got that, and then we got like Harley Quinn has got like a Batman bat grapple thing. That's her mechanic for flying. Is she has like this bat grapple that just seems to attach anywhere she needs to and lets her fly around the city, shooting guns at people.
So she stole
and it's got like, and it has kind of a Borderlands kind of mechanic for the guns, where you got different brands of guns. There's like 7 different classes of guns between shotguns, submachine guns, assault rifles, pistols, whatever. I forget what the others are. And then there's different brands. There's LexCorp brand of guns and whatever, right? And I don't know if Wayne Tech makes any guns, but that might be weird for Wayne Tech to produce any guns. But fuck, who knows?
Maybe being controlled by Brainiac.
Yeah, and so so everyone, even fucking King Shark should be like down on the ground, really fucking things up in melee. And he does some melee in the trailer, but mostly we see him flying in the air, shooting things, and then sometimes he like does like a drop, hits a few guys, and then I think he ripped a guy in half at one point. But a lot of what we saw everyone doing was flying effectively. And we saw Harley hit a couple of bad guys with her hammer, but
that's classic Harley. Yeah.
Yeah. But it looks like for everyone, the primary combat is
Looter
collectible guns. Yeah, and you get all these guns as like plus 0.05% poison damage or venom damage and 0.03% faster reload speeds. I was like, oh my god, this is like the worst parts of, like, in a lot of ways it kind of looks like the Marvel's Avengers game, but like all the worst parts. At least in Marvel's Avengers, each character played uniquely, right? They had their own unique abilities and how you played them. They didn't all carry the same submachine guns or have access to the same guns.
Especially characters that iconically never touched a gun ever, like Boomerang. Boomerang did not use guns. Harley Quinn has used guns.
So
Boomerang has not.
I think it's a game that, I think it'd be better if it wasn't a Suicide Squad game, because you have certain expectations from these characters, and they don't play how you would want these. And this is a game coming from the people who made the Batman Arkham Knight, Arkham City, Arkham Arkham
Horror,
Asylum,
Arkham Asylum,
the Arkham games, the amazing Batman games that had tactical stuff, it had detective stuff. It revolutionized superhero combat.
Adventures of Batman versus Cthulhu.
Right?
Yeah.
The House of...
And it had like 8 years to work on this Suicide Squad game, and it just looks like a generic looter shooter with a DC lens.
Your point is, if you're going to license an IP, play to that IP. Don't just put a skin over it.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds stinky.
Yeah.
I probably won't be buying it.
Yeah, so I mentioned online, I was like, I might play it when it drops, because it's a game as a service. There's a battle pass and everything. And so, like others, it's probably going to get, it's also an online, always online. Even if you're playing single player, you have to be connected to the servers to play this game.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people up in arms about that, too.
I imagine within 24 months, the servers are going to get turned off. That's kind of my prediction on this game. But we did get some other stuff that looked pretty decent. Like Chia looks like a good game. I don't have anything to complain about Chia. Chia looks like a good game. But I have seen this game previewed a bunch before. It's a little single player game. Play this little girl like on an island that can like jump into the bodies of animals and stuff like that. It looks like a cute little fun game. Humanity looks like an interesting puzzle game made by the people who made the Tetris Effects and I think Res Infinite, which I know those are both very successful, like arcadey style games. And this is a game where you play as a dog shepherding humans around in a puzzle, like abstract puzzles kind of a design.
That's great.
We got to see some more of Resident Evil 4, the remake of it, which I have to say, I'm not a big Resident Evil guy for games anyways, and that game is looking really good.
and on the other hand, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I like my Resident Evil horror games.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for that one.
So that's looking really good. We got another look at Street Fighter 6, including 3 fighter reveals. Everything in this game's just looking good. This Street Fighter is the best looking Street Fighter to me in a long time, and I enjoyed the new footage they showed of it. I forget when it's coming out, but it just keeps looking better and better. We got to look at Baldur's Gate 3, which the last time I saw Baldur's Gate 3 footage was a few months ago, and that I liked what I saw there that day so much that I went out and bought Baldur's Gate and Baldur's Gate 2 on Steam, and then found that it didn't work with the controller too well. And so then I was like, well, I guess I got to play this in keyboard and mouse, but I didn't get around to doing all that before we had to haul up and make our way up here.
And I actually watched Satine Phoenix play through some of the playtests for Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
Since it's being made for both PS5 and PC, I'm hoping they have a good controller configuration for that to work really well. I hope they got that figured out. because the old ones do not work on controller well. Something that's interesting about this is it was at the PlayStation State of Play, and they only talked about the PlayStation 5 and the PC versions of the game. Currently, there's not a release date for the Xbox versions, but there's some public outcry about this game going, why aren't you putting this on the Xbox? Which the developers had to come back with, we are making it for Xbox. Just, it's taking longer because we're having technical problems with the Xbox versions. The Xbox Series S specifically, because of the limitations of Series S, they have to get it to work correctly on Series S before they put it on Xbox at all. And that is why the Xbox version of the game is releasing at an unknown date later down the road.
Like you always have to dumb it down for Xbox. Always.
Well, if it's initially made for another console and then ported to the Xbox, now if it's initially made for the Xbox, then you don't have to do that.
No. Actually, it should be really simple to port it over to the Xbox because the Xbox and the PC share the same CPU architecture. It should be simple to port it over. It's actually harder for the PS5 port from Windows to PS5.
Yeah.
We know it's for Windows. Going to PS5, a different architecture. So what that effectively means is that the Xbox, that the pure issue that they're having, the technical issues that they're having, is that they have to dumb everything down and still make it work and playable and look good.
Yeah. The key thing is the split-screen co-op. They haven't figured out how to get it to work on the Series S.
Oh, yeah. And the reason why that would be the case, I don't know if you guys know this, in order to split-screen correctly and you guys see different stuff, they actually effectively have to run two versions of the game at once.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do that and render two at once. And that is so incredibly hard to do whenever you have limited
multi-threading problem. It's a complex multi-threading problem.
I mean, it's a complex, a lot of different hardware and software issues whenever you are split screening. I made a split screen game.
Yeah, when you're running basically two instances of a game at one time,
yep,
the multi-threading can get insane.
So we're running a little long on this, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up with the other big thing was they wanted to show off PlayStation VR content. They announced in advance that there's going to be 5 PSVR 2 announcements, games announced for it. And they held up. They put out some games. They got the Foglands, Green Hell VR, Synapse, Journey to Foundation, and Before Your Eyes, which they all seem like interesting games. They all seem like they'd be fun games. But none of them were like blow your socks off, you have to get a VR for this game kind of a moment. They all just look like good games, but not killer apps just yet. And one that did kind of catch my attention a little bit and was this Journey to Foundation, because it's based on Isaac Asimov's books.
I was going to ask, because Foundation's Edge was one of my favorite books as a kid.
Yeah, it is very explicitly, like, the trailer starts off with a quote from one of his books, or maybe it's a quote from him. Yeah, it's that foundation. It's the foundation of his books. I've not read his books. I've not read the Foundation books. But yeah, they make it very clear in the trailer that this is inspired or based on his works.
Right. Apple TV has a Foundation series. I still haven't taken the time to watch it because I'm reticent. So I don't want it to be ruined.
I feel like I'm coming up on another dead zone.
Well, no, we were about to.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, yeah. So
that's okay. I did want to mention a couple of other things before we did the segue. Anyway, first off, they are starting to move forward with production on the Blade movie. They are now targeting May 1st to start production. So the delays are finally getting handled.
Yay!
Maybe. take everything with a grain of
Oh,
salt.
what I was saying was I have like probably like a good 5 to 10 minutes to talk is what I was saying.
Oh, you got
I'm
5 or 10 minutes to talk. Let's try.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Let's try to squeeze that in. Okay. Dungeons and Dragons, new playtest, Druids and Paladins.
Yeah. All right. So the Druids, they have so there's a unique change. I kind of really like the change, but a lot of people are not liking the change, which I guess is like fair because change is scary and different.
You talking about the
God,
change?
I think I might see the thing. So yeah, the Druids looking like instead of you using a stat block from a random beast, you actually use 3 stat blocks that they give to you, and you unlock aspects of those stat blocks as you level up. So those stat blocks become more powerful. So you have Beast of the Land, Beast of the Sea, and Beast of the Air as you level up. And those different beasts that you can wild shape into get stronger with more multi-attacks and whatnot. And you even get, as a bonus action, instead of using a wild shape, you can, for a minute, transform back and forth as frequently as you please between human and animal. The only, or creature and animal. The only issue with that is that you don't get temporary HP, and that is the only thing people are really upset about. You
don't get to use their HP.
Yeah, and the reasoning is sound. Druids weren't designed to be tanks.
Right.
It's funny because that's not the complaint that I've got. The complaint that I've heard was you don't get the unique aspects of the different wild shapes.
No.
So that's people that as you level up, you get kind of like if you're a creature of the land, you level up, you eventually get a climb speed or a dig speed, burrow speed. As you level up with creature of the sea, like you get various things with that, and then you eventually get like creature of the air, So like you say you don't get variations on the stat blocks themselves, but as you level up, you unlock specific aspects of it that really kind of like feel a niche of whatever animal you want. And the idea is while you're wild shaped, you can keep like changing your shape to match whatever you need. So if you're a horse but you want to burrow, oh well, now I'm a gopher. And now you have a burrow speed. And that allows you to have more freedom than just being able to take on those shapes.
Another concept is you're free to be whatever shape you want. Because, they said, one of the things it does is allow for the legal wild shaping into the owlbear, because you just would be the creature of the land, then you combine aspects of a bear and an owl. And stuff.
The honest part...
You're going underwater again.
Idle out an owl. Right. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm seeing the tower. It's gonna take for 2 minutes. 1 minute, 2 minutes top.
I'll talk for a second and then we'll turn it back over to you.
Well. Actually, I think I'm good right now.
Oh, good.
So, as I was saying, I don't see an issue with an owl or with the druid thing, just because it's a flavor text thing, and as a DM, flipping, you only have 3 stat blocks to really take care of, as opposed to
having them dig through the book all the time. Yeah.
I've seen all of these beasts to see what Steph has options for, and when in our campaign, and 90% of them are just use a claw attack. People are complaining that there's not a lot of variety, but there's not a lot of variety.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when the complaints I'm seeing isn't even about battle; it's about versatility. Like they want to be able to, and like I haven't actually read the stuff. This is just the complaints I've seen online. Is if you turn into a spider, you should be able to climb up a wall and across the ceiling. And apparently with the new stat blocks, you can't do that if you turn into a spider.
Well, I do believe that kind of like niche stuff is 100% DM. They're handing those reins off of the DM. And this is I mean, I would like to remind everybody that this is a playtest, so it's not like in stone. But I would allow you polymorphing or you wild shaping into a spider to allow you to crawl on the walls. Right. I would allow you to not have to roll a stealth roll if you are a mouse in a house. You know what I mean? Like those are that's not even a thing on the mouse stat block. A mouse stat block doesn't say that you don't have to roll stealth, but you know that's something that I wouldn't require you do because a mouse is expected in a house.
And also to that point, like Angel said, as you go up in level, they do unlock, like, for instance, climb and burrow speeds for the land creatures, which the DM could translate to spider climb.
So you can now turn into a spider is how that translates.
Right.
Like it's kind of like how you're not able to turn, like Steph's not able to, or Lucelia, her character is not able to turn into a flying creature.
Right.
So you level up to be able to turn into those things.
Yeah. I think technically she can turn into the bird, but can't fly.
No, you cannot turn into it.
Can't turn into it?
Yeah, you can't turn into any creature that has a fly speed on their stat block.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit since I read the Druid sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
this is supposed to simplify some things and allow more freedom for interpretation.
So does this make combat? Because I know after a certain point, combat as an animal in a wild shape isn't terribly viable. Does that change that?
Yeah, it does actually, because it allows you to multi-attack with 1d8s, and those go up. So, like, as you level up, the amount you can multi-attack is going up.
The other thing is...
it's you plus your wisdom modifier. So if your wisdom modifier is higher, then your damage roll is going to be higher.
Yeah.
So it's 1d8 plus your damage roll, or plus your wisdom modifier.
Yeah.
So it is more viable, I feel like, in the long run than 90% of these.
And statistically, based on their studies with, like, looking at D&D Beyond and stuff, the Druid is one of the least played classes in the game because, you know, people's
I believe that.
Something.
Oh yeah. It's a complicated class, and this just decomplicates it.
Yes.
And with the changes in the drastic overhaul of what druids are, like the druid spell list, which is considerably larger now. It's being more spellcaster focused and less tank focused, like it should have been.
Yeah, because most people try to use the druid as a pseudo tank instead of being a utility class.
I can see a bad DM giving someone who wants to be a druid a hard time, but most DMs, I feel like, would say would allow, and like I said, the druids themselves, they go back and forth on like what they give and what the take is. Personally, I think it's great. Also, as the DM, you guys shouldn't know monster stat blocks.
Right. and the fact of the matter was, like in the 5th edition interpretation, it says it had to be a monster you've seen before. And so these people that wanted to just open up the book and do every monster under the sun, I used to, like, get down on them. the other thing was, most people who did traditionally play druids would pick 2 or 3 forms that they mostly used anyway. They didn't go through 50 different forms. They had 2 or 3 of their favorite forms. So this system works really good and leaves a lot for interpretation, which is taking the game back to its roots.
And it allows you on it as a bonus action to change back and forth between different forms.
Now, is that true for all the druids or just Circle of the Moon?
All druids.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know in 5e, Circle of the Moon can wild shape on a bonus action.
This was just druid.
They may not do the circle thing.
That's how wild shape works.
We don't know yet.
This is just how, and instead of calling, it's still called a wild shape, but now it's called channel nature, similar to channel divinity. So now it's considered underneath the channel nature.
So it's like a grand.
So it's available to all druids.
Yeah.
And then speaking of channel divinity, the paladins were touched, and people are really upset that you can't just spam smites anymore. And I'm like, thank God, because now you can't just one-hit kill the BBEG.
Yeah. People used to abuse a lot of the loopholes in the paladin class. The spirit of the paladin was defeated, for one thing.
Everyone upset about... Oh, sorry, go on.
I haven't looked at all the changes for the paladin, but initially the concept of the paladin, as proposed by Dave Arunson in the old D&D book, the paladin was not supposed to be able to lay on hands to himself because he was supposed to be using his purity to lay on hands on another person, not themselves. And so
a large change... Oh, sorry, go on.
So things like that, little things like that. The other thing was, especially since the advent of 5th edition and everything, people are using all kinds of things to say, well, a paladin can break his oath and his ethos and still have all of his powers. I was like, well, then what's the point of being a paladin over being anything else? The paladin is supposed to be meant around his oath, no matter which.
That's an oath-breaker paladin.
Right.
That's an oath-breaker paladin.
He should have to risk becoming an oath-breaker if he breaks his oath. It should not be that he can still do all of his things. And when you transition from a regular paladin to an oathbreaker, there is supposed to be a penalty period between that transition.
Well, I would like to talk about the actual changes of the paladin for a second.
Yeah.
The actual changes were paladins. You can only use smite, any kind of smite, once per turn. So you can't just explode smite.
You can't add smite to every attack you get.
Yeah, you can't extra attack smite. You can't, do all of that. And also, you can now apply smite to ranged weapons. So paladins are no longer melee focused exclusively. You can now crossbow bolt a smite. So whatever. So I guess they're turning paladins into vampire hunters.
Well,
I'm reading this druid sheet, and everything I'm reading I'm liking more than the current druid.
Right?
It's
better.
Here's one thing I like. The wild companion, the familiar you do with using up one of your charges, it lasts until you finish a long rest. It's not a certain number of hours. It lasts until you finish a long rest.
And then you can resummon it the next day. Yeah.
Yeah. If you use up a charge, you can summon it the next day. It does. It does seem like the using a bonus action to change form does look like a Moon Druid specific thing. I mean, I haven't found it anywhere else.
No. It's a level 17 or level 15 ability, maybe. I'm not sure. Of a regular druid.
Okay.
Use a bonus action to go in between your human or your creature form and your beast form.
Okay. I did find it under level 3 as a moon druid, but maybe they give it to you at a higher level for others.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. 13th level, alternating forms. You can now rapidly shift between a wild shape form and your normal form. If you're in a wild shape form, you can switch to your normal form as a bonus action, and you can switch back into that wild shape form within the next minute. Okay, that's not quite the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That was what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can change from your wild shape back to your humanoid form and
without having to do. Okay, think of the role play in it.
Yeah, that's really great because like I'm thinking about when I was playing as Hercus, my druid, for our one shot a while back. I turned into a bear for a fight. It would have been pretty cool if after the fight, without expending any charges, turned back into my I forget what my form was, elf or something. No, I was a bear giant thing.
You were a giant, a half giant. I forgot what it was called.
Anyway,
a Goliath.
Anyway,
you were a Goliath, another giant.
Anyway, whatever it was, I could have turned back to my humanoid form. Then I could have talked again, and then when the fight started, switched back into the bear form without using up extra charge. So I really like that. I mean, that's not until level 13, and my Hercus is only level 6. But still, it's not available at all as far as I know in 5e. But the special.
To be clear, he was. Oh, sorry. Go on.
I'm gonna say that, but the special thing that the Moon Druids get is starting at level 3. They can do that. They can change to a different form, I think.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah.
But here's probably one of my favorite parts here. As a Moon Druid, anyway, you can cast abjuration spells while you're in a wild shape, starting at level 3.
Yeah, that's helpful.
That's
all. About it from this, the quick change also lends itself to the new D&D movie when you see the tiefling jump from owlbear and then land on her horse's saddle in her tiefling form again. In that smooth little, that's a bonus action if I ever saw one. You know, that was a whoop, and she's back on saddle and
I want to say the druid. I mean, God, yeah, it's such a good. First of all, anyone who is upset about the paladin changes, I know who you are, and I know why, and you're all sinners. And the druid changes are amazing.
Yeah, I love them. Good. And I happen to play a Firbolg druid too. I actually have a Firbolg druid who's a pyrophobic.
I'm certainly not saying the druid change is perfect. Like, it's going to go through several other iterations.
Oh yeah.
But man, I love the simplicity. I love that you're only keeping track of like how many times do we have to stop and be like, okay, what's the stat block on you? You use your own stats. It's great because your stats are going to be higher than the fucking beast.
Mhm. Yeah, it's better to have some set stat blocks with some set special abilities and a little wiggle room for interpretation instead of having to thumb through books constantly in the middle of the game. Or the other one, which is to have always have your stat blocks for specific creatures when the players shouldn't be knowing all these creature stat blocks in the first place. So yeah, I like it. I think that's a good change. And like I said, it's addressing a class that's traditionally so hard to play that nobody wants to play it, which means it's the lowest used class according to the numbers on D&D Beyond. And let's face it, 5th edition players mostly use D&D Beyond.
I saw something not too long ago that said that the druid is like based on a couple of polls and the users on D&D Beyond, that druid is the least played class.
It is. Roll20 and D&D Beyond both agree.
Which is crazy because druids are awesome in concept and Steph is doing a really good job with her Druid Circle of Spores. I think, it's really good. It's just really good. Anyway, did we want to talk about the movie?
There's a little bit. The movie is coming out tomorrow is March, and the end of March, the last day of March, is when we finally get to see the movie. A new trailer just dropped, and I kind of shared something for that. So let me bring that up. I don't know if we're going to actually play any of the actual trailer, but just because I want to avoid any possibility of copyright thing, but it's supposed to go through and show several of the monsters featured in the movie. And I mean, we've all seen the parts with the Displacer Beast and the Mimic and a couple of the dragons and the Owlbear. But like, for instance, this picture right here, that's an Intellect Devourer. And if that's in the movie, I'm excited. I think you saw a Homunculus in there.
There was a Homunculus.
We see them animate a gargoyle in one of the trailers. The guy shoots and they say, "Oh, you missed," and you turn around and see the statue behind him has been animated. That would be technically a golem or a gargoyle.
So an Intellect Devourer, they said they tend to go for the highest intellect. That's actually false. In that, if we're talking about Forgotten Realms, or just the Monster Manual, Intellect Devourers will go for the least intelligent because they can overpower them and eat their brains.
Yeah, they want an intelligent creature, but they want the easiest to control.
Yes. They do actually completely teleport inside of their head and devour their brains. The original person that was once in there is gone, and only a wish can bring them back, not even greater restoration.
And it is one of my favorite creatures. I love the oddball creatures like the Intellect Devourer, the Restmon.
Or Resurrection. Resurrection can also bring them. But, you know what I mean.
Alter Reality, Wish, Resurrection. That's the ninth level spell ability kind of stuff to really reverse an Intellect Devourer's attacks. And they're just a great creature. It's a brain on four legs that basically goes and takes you over. What's not to
so I mentioned this kind of like in the thing, but I'm gonna ask Lurch to dramatically cover his ears so I can talk about this a little bit. In our campaign, I was just joking. I was just joking. You can put him back in. Yeah. Lurch, I was just joking. I was just, it's fine. No, they encountered an Intellect Devourer in the campaign not too long ago. And Lurch's character, Moyovo, started getting kind of like gritty with an Illithid or a Mind Flayer that was local in the cabin, and he had a pet Intellect Devourer, and if they caused a fight, he was going to go to the lowest intelligence. He narrowly avoided not pissing off the Illithid that much.
I love interesting creatures. Interesting creatures is probably one of my favorite parts of Dungeons and Dragons. It not only borrowed a lot of creatures from a lot of different mythologies, but a lot of people may not know this, but there's a few creatures in the Dungeons and Dragons history that came about because Gary Gygax went down to the corner market and bought a bunch of these little plastic toys. And
Oh,
those
yeah.
freaky little toys, and he just started making monsters up to fit them. That's where the Rust Monster comes in. It was just this bug toy that he found, and he just decided to write a stat block for it, and he showed it to Dave Aronson, and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. Let's put it in the game." And they did that with a lot of things that they did.
That's so funny you mentioned that. Steph, my wife recently, for Christmas, she bought me a big Arts of D&D book. And I sat down recently and started reading it in the bathroom. And I saw that very thing you're just talking about. They showed the toy, and they showed the little drawing he did next to it of the Rust Monster. Oh, man, that's
really
crazy.
into the art of D&D, too. There's, on YouTube, there is a retrospective where they talk to the artists of D&D. So they're talking to Clyde Caldwell and all those that shaped D&D throughout the years. And they talk about growing up in the industry, and one of the artists is represented by his son because the artist is dead, but he talks about his dad and things, and they talk about going into the D&D TSR offices and all the different guidelines they were given back then, and how D&D kind of shaped fantasy art, because there was a big period of time where fantasy art was like not coming out hardly at all, and then the Conan books came out, and the Conan books was the first real time that you started seeing really grand fantasy, medieval fantasy art start to come back into popular, illustration, was the covers of those Conan books, and then D&D exploded with it, and they were shaping the industry. And so if you look it up on YouTube, it was The Art of D&D, I think is what it's called.
No, it was called The Eye of Beholder.
Eye of Beholder, The Art of D&D.
I did watch that. I was halfway through watching that a couple days ago.
It's great, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I'm at the part where he threw where they're talking about if you open up the door to their office, they'd be throwing darts, and like someone could easily have got the dart stuck in there. Right? So I'm like at that part.
Okay, yeah, no, I binge watched it in one sitting. I was like, oh my god, I love this, and it's just so good. I definitely recommend it. So look for The Eye of the Beholder on YouTube.
Have you? I don't know if our viewers though has seen Thimbertrod. Thimbertrod is the fat red dragon, which I was excited to see because I actually read, I believe it was the Lulth storyline of the Forgotten Realms books.
Yeah.
By R.A. Salvatore. And like Den of the Spider Queen or something like that.
The Demon Queen of Spiders series. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Thimbertrod was in there, I believe. Effectively his deal is there's a meme going around, and whoever saw this meme, I don't think ever actually saw this, because like this is exactly what the meme is. The meme is like just introduce capitalism to your dragon. You mean to say that all I have to do is blow my fire into these bellows and then you'll give me coins? Yeah, that's actually what happens. Thimbertrod is one dragon in a long series of dragons where Dwargers told the very first red dragon, they say, come live with us, and then we will give you money. You'll have a horde of your own. It'll be vast. It'll be amazing. You'll be fed for the rest of your life. You never have to worry about food, and all you have to do is power our furnaces so we can make really awesome weapons. And the very first dragon said, that's awesome. But the thing that they don't tell you, and the reason why Thimbershot is one of my favorite dragons in the Forgotten Realms at all, is because the story is very tragic. He's doomed to die. Most of these red dragons are killed before they get too old. Because, one, they get really fat. They can't leave the Underdark. But also because dragons are extremely intelligent creatures, and with age comes wisdom, and they eventually learn that they're being used. And so red dragons will red dragons will tend to fuck with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's some road work, it seems.
Yeah.
Red dragons will like beat against the system after a certain while, and maybe they're like, maybe I should run the entire place. And so what they do is they they mate the red dragon, then they kill the dragon. The other red dragon goes off wherever, and then they take the egg. When the dragon hatches, dragons are capable of understanding language at birth. They make a deal with that red dragon, and then the process continues. So Thimbershot is a fat dragon because it never has to go anywhere. It is particularly weak. It has a massive horde, and I'm excited. I love its representation.
And not all elder dragons learn how to polymorph.
Yeah, that's true.
No matter how fast they get, if they get the polymorph ability, they can always leave the Underdark because they'll polymorph into usually a half elven or elven.
They don't get that old. They're not allowed to get that old,
right?
To be able to learn.
Well, some dragons get the polymorph ability at a much younger age than others. But yeah,
it doesn't
until they get into elder or ancient.
I believe it's ancient.
I think they get it in
silver dragons.
Get it like the earliest.
I think steel dragons are the earliest. Steel dragons at birth.
Yeah, steel.
Learn how to.
Are the earliest on it, yeah.
Yeah, steel dragons, otherwise known as Greyhawk, because they originated in Greyhawk, are dragons that their entire life is I want to be a human, and they just live many lives from birth to old age. From they will polymorph into a child and then grow up with the family, and then they will live in old age. And whenever they die, they go off on their own, turn back into a dragon, create a work of art that tells their entire life story in their horde. That's considered their horde, and then go back, put their memories in a vault, and then go back to being a human. And that's their entire lifespan of the cycle and repeat until they die. It is so fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
And true story, Lurch's girlfriend, Squirrel, was a steel dragon in disguise in our
campaign.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the idiosyncrasies of the different draconic races. That's one of the things that's got me most excited about seeing this movie, the fact that they are differentiating the dragons. They're not just making everybody a carbon copy medieval European dragon. They're not all fire breathers. They're not all,
It really needs to be that way because the Forgotten Realms is so much dependent on the ecology of dragons itself.
Yeah, the only
that if they didn't do it.
The only setting that would be more dependent would be Dragonlance.
Yeah.
Or
true.
Yeah, because Dragonlance was all dependent on dragons.
Because you could get away with it in Eberron.
Well, yeah.
Like dragons are dragons, not good or evil.
You could get away with it in Greyhawk, but that's because dragons were usually much more few and far between encountered in Greyhawk. So you didn't have to put such a focus on it, but there are so many iconic dragons in Forgotten Realms of different types that you really have to focus on the fact that each one is different. And of course, during that Eye of the Beholder thing, they talk about creating the unique physiologies of the different dragons when they're first creating them for D&D, and it was great.
Anyway, did really kind of let. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. That was a nice thing though, and that's why I wanted to talk about this thing. And so you really want to watch this little creature featurette. If you can get it, most of you can go to YouTube and watch it. I will actually put the link to this in the chat. So if you're watching this later, you can go through the chat transcripts and there we go. Control C. Control V. There we go. You can click on that in the chat transcripts later on, and you can go there, and if you scroll to the bottom of the screen, they've got the link to the Meet the Creatures featurette. I thought it was an important thing. The movie, the hype, the excitement is building. Also, just to let you know, Joe Manganiello has been hired to work on a D&D TV series by Wizards of the Coast. So there is a TV series in the work. And for those who don't know, Joe Manganiello is a huge D&D fan. He is absolutely insane about it. So he's working on a D&D series, probably for, I believe it's Paramount Plus, but I'm not absolutely sure what network it's going to come out on. But I think they said Paramount Plus was the one trying to option it. But he's working directly. Joe Manganiello is now directly an employee of Wizards of the Coast as well as being an actor. So, yeah.
How have you been? What's your opinion on the new trailer? Have you seen it?
This one I have not seen yet. I just came across it a little bit before the show, and then when I linked it there, it was there so that we could kind of watch it either before the show or later.
Yeah.
I just caught it while I was thumbing through some articles, wanted to double check, and I was like, ooh, wait a minute. How did this slip by me? And
I am so beyond excited for. I think the thing that excites me most about it isn't going to be the story or anything. It's like, as a dungeon master, how do these things like work? Like how are like how are they visually represented? Like
the menagerie.
Whenever if I use what's gonna fucking happen? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the menagerie of magic and creatures that I'm looking forward to seeing. How they represent magic and how they represent creatures. Because the visual...
What's up, Rich?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
I was saying, I haven't seen this Meet the Creatures trailer yet. I didn't know it existed until we were getting started on this podcast. So I missed that one. I think the last new trailer I saw for it, or the last preview or whatever, was that scene where they're using the Speak with the Dead spell, and they just blunder it.
Right. Yeah, that was a good little featurette too.
And what's funny is that preview dropped just days after we used Speak with Dead for the first time in our campaign.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ironic.
Yeah, we just used that spell for the first time in our campaign. I was like, oh, I hope there's no like accidental slip ups with this conversation. And I think she got the same answer like 3 different times, or Bard did, I think. Because like was just trying to word the same question, I think, in 3 different ways, or something like that. I don't remember. And so I had a good time when I saw that trailer, and it's like, it's like, only answer a question when I ask you, okay? Yes.
Okay. We're gonna move forward into my From the Vault. I'm not doing a Kickstarter again this week. I'm just having trouble finding ones with a decent time frame left on them to where I can justify recommending them. Because I really want you to have at least 14 days to jump in on a Kickstarter if I'm going to recommend it. But From the Vault is a special one this week. Now, not everybody's going to really think of it necessarily as a nerdy show, but MASH is one of the most watched, most beloved shows in the history of television. Historically, the finale, which aired this date 40 years ago, was at least tuned into by 125 million different TV screens.
Wow.
And they say that like 106 million of those watched the entire 2.5-hour finale at that original airing.
That seems insane because, I mean, that has to be globally because the United States only has, today, like a little over 300 million people.
Yeah.
So 40 years ago, it couldn't have been just Americans. It couldn't have just been 120 million TVs in the United States.
It did go to some other countries. But the thing was, it holds the record for the most views still of any episodic TV show. In fact, the only thing that has beat its numbers in the history of TV is not all, but some Super Bowls. So, I mean, as much as you've heard the hype about shows like Seinfeld and all these and their big epic endings and stuff, the finale of MASH, which happened to be the show that started the subgenre of the dramedy, combining drama and comedy together. It was the first one to really coin that phrase. And it was such a great show. Now, the cast has changed through the years. It had 11 seasons, which is also phenomenal back then. And of the shows, the only character that was in every single episode was Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye Pierce, the main character.
That's not. I don't feel like that's true. Wasn't Hot Lips in every episode?
No,
too?
there was 2 episodes where she was out visiting other things around.
Really?
2 episodes. And Jamie Farr and Hot Lips, Klinger, and Hawkeye are the only 3 that was in the first episode all the way through to the end, even though Jamie Farr and Loretta Swit each missed a couple of actual episodes where they had appearances. Alan Alda's the only character that appeared in every single episode.
I mean, you really couldn't have MASH without Hawkeye.
Well, yeah.
You really can't.
Even Father Mulcahy, who was up there, they switched actors for him because the pilot episode had a different actor for Father Mulcahy. He was in every episode after the pilot, but it was a different actor in the first episode, so you can't say that he was in from the very beginning. Alan Alda's the only one that's been in from the very beginning, and he's the longest running of all of them. Now,
there was a small mousy kid whenever I was going to Job Corps, and I was SGA president at the time, and so I was welcoming in a whole group of like new people, and I saw this like one kid, and he told me what his name was, and I was like, "Your name's Radar." You didn't look like Radar. Like, and that became his name. He was known as long as he was at Job Corps as Radar.
Walter Radar O'Reilly. Now, for more trivia about MASH, since we're talking about MASH, MASH, the series, was based on MASH, the movie, And the only one actor came from the movie to the TV show, and that was Gary Berghoff, who played Walter O'Reilly, Radar. So he's the only one that continued from the movie into the TV series. Everybody else was replaced and recast.
Hawkeye wasn't in the movie?
Hawkeye was in the movie, but not Alan Alda.
Oh.
The original movie had Donald Sutherland. It had, I'm trying to think of the other actors who are in it.
Remind me, MASH. Stands for Mobile Army
Surgical Hospital.
Surgical Hospital, yeah, that's right.
Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And it was just an amazing game-breaking show. It talked about, and this is back in the 70s and early 80s, it handled topics of racism, sexism, war.
Wasn't it Klinger? Wasn't it Klinger that was the one who was like always cross-dressing?
Yes. That's Jamie Farr's character. He
cross-dressed. Jamie Farr. So he cross-dressed to leave the army. He wasn't actually a cross-dresser.
He wanted the Section 8.
But no one treated him any fucking differently. That was so fucking great.
No,
yeah.
Like he just appeared in like a dress, and everybody be like, "This is fine."
And today, people are trying to make cross-dressing illegal that were fans of the show. I'm sure.
And he made most of his dresses according to the storyline of the show, which is also pretty good because he had like reproductions of the Scarlett O'Hara dresses from Gone with the Wind. He had like a Copacabana fruit hat, one that he did.
He was a pretty good seamster.
Yeah, he was actually, and then all the ladies of the night of the Koreans wanted his clothes.
That's true.
Because they even had an episode where they had to relocate, and they wanted to use the building. And they
in one episode they show you the horrors of the Korean War, and also make you really laugh about Hawkeye's attempt at getting hot lips in bed.
Right. That's the thing, is they showed the highs and lows of one of the most controversial eras of history.
And they say it's kind of like really accurate. They say it's really accurate, at least in terms of like how doctors would act during the war. Because doctors were generally, they're opposed to the war. So doctors in like military doctors who were a part of the army, would actively do things that was against the rule, and the army would be forced to overlook them because they would have no doctors otherwise.
They had a actual MASH doctor as a technical consultant on the show. So he was giving them terms to say during the OR scenes and stuff. But he was also giving them like situations that they embellished on for the episodes, because some of these things actually happened in this doctor's life. And the original book that the movie was based on is written by a MASH doctor. So it was a dramatization of the real life of these surgeons and nurses and everything, and it was amazing. Now, there's a lot of things that happened throughout the different seasons. Henry Blake was replaced by Sherman Potter. Frank Burns was replaced by Charles Emerson Winchester III.
Which I loved him so much. What a great character.
Yeah, when you started out not wanting to like Charles, you're like, wait a minute, but Frank. And as much as Frank was an irritant, you liked being irritated at him. But within like 2 or 3 episodes, you're like, Charles fits in here just fine.
I actually didn't mind Frank leaving. What a downer. I hated him.
He was a downer. But
good riddance to bad company.
The best thing about Frank leaving, in my opinion, the best thing was with Frank fully leaving the show, Loretta Swit's character, Hot Lips Houlihan, grew. She evolved into a
Yeah.
much more complex, much more empathetic character. She became more of a part of the ensemble and not just the bad guy. Because when Frank was there, Margaret and Frank were the bad guys.
To clarify, Hot Lips Houlihan was the head of nurses.
Yeah, and she was the basically third in command of the outfit, although with the accuracy of that time period, she was never given control, even when Frank couldn't take control of it or when Charles couldn't take control. She was never put in charge, even though she was a major, which means she outranked Hawkeye, but Hawkeye was put in charge of the camp on at least one occasion.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that in that time period, no matter how high she ranked, she couldn't be overall commander because of how they viewed women in the service.
Yeah. The one thing that I will say about MASH is it doesn't like age well in terms of like sexualizing people, but it does a really. Here's the thing.
But it's historically accurate.
You can't like blame it because it is as much a historical piece as it is a sitcom. It really is.
It is historically accurate. So
you can't like Hawkeye is a womanizer. He sleeps with every woman in the encampment. And he tries to get with Hot Lips, but Hot Lips knows that he's
and Frank, BJ, and Henry all cheat on their wives.
So in terms of that, I think it's kind of weird to me how determined people are to have all fictional characters be likable people when they're not supposed to be.
And I'm sorry,
they're not.
Misspoke. Not BJ, Trapper. BJ was the one that was always faithful. BJ and Potter were both always faithful. But Trapper was cheating all the time.
You're right, Lurch. There is so much. There's so much like people want everybody to be redeemable and like be the best version of themselves, but that is not. And if MASH does anything well, it shows like humanity.
Yeah.
Like, it shows.
Frank Burns was never redeemable. There was nothing redeemable.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. Fuck that guy.
Right.
Yeah.
He was nothing redeemable about Frank Burns, and during the early years, there wasn't a lot redeemable about Margaret. There was a little bit, but not a lot, because Margaret was almost as bad as Frank in the early years. She grew and evolved and became a real person.
They were like together despite Frank having a girlfriend back home.
Him having a wife. Like I said.
Yeah, he had a wife.
Frank,
and Hot
Henry,
and were
and
together.
Trapper all cheated on their wives. Also, early in the show, Pierce at least claimed to be married to a couple of the nurses. Whether or not that was true or not, we don't know. It could have been just something that he said to not commit. But later on, he was a confirmed bachelor all the way through. But at least in a couple of the early episodes, he claimed.
How did he die? Didn't he get killed like in real life for sleeping with his friend's wife?
Who? Alan Alda?
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Oh my God! Who am I thinking of then?
I don't know.
Someone, a famous actor from Hogan. I think it was Hogan from Hogan's Heroes who died that way.
Because Alan Alda and Loretta Swit and Jamie Farr are all still alive.
Yeah, different war. I was thinking of.
Yeah, those are the only three from the show that is still alive. David Ogden Stiers recently died. What's his name that played Sherman Potter died almost 10 years ago.
Can you look to see if like how the actor of Hogan's Heroes died? That's killing me now.
I'll check it after we get off the stream.
Sure.
But Yeah, so
I'll look it up.
or you can
I don't
look
have
up,
much
yeah.
to say about MASH because I didn't watch it.
It is such an iconic. Oh, you should watch it because you love
No.
comedy.
I saw some of it and I didn't like it. I guess that's the more accurate thing. It's not that I didn't watch it; it's that I didn't like it. It was the show that came on when good television was over as a kid.
Well, there are 11 seasons, so
as soon as I heard the do, I'm like, well, I'm done watching TV for the day.
Well, there were 11 seasons of MASH, so you might. There are some episodes that are easier to watch than others.
I didn't like MASH when I was a kid either. Whenever I was an adult, I watched it. I was like,
I watched it religiously. In fact, if there's nothing else on that I want to watch, I like to go to sleep to MASH.
Like, I know your tastes work, so I think you would still not like it. But whenever I was a kid, my taste changed. I grew up liking it. So.
Allison can quote most of it just because of how much I watch it.
Wow.
I watch it. I watched several episodes today.
There's some good quotes that I've seen online from that show that's pretty good. You know, they're like good. I don't know. But I mean, even a show that has 99% content I don't like can have 1% of, good lessons or good lines or whatever,
There are a lot of good lessons in this show, I'll tell you that.
I just find it a really boring show.
That's fair. Everybody has their taste.
Yeah.
I personally recommend MASH, and I think if anything, you should try to watch 1 or 2 episodes from each season, because you might find that just some of the episodes you watched were just not the ones that were really good.
Well, here's the thing too. MASH became later on in the series very difficult to get into if you start in. I think I didn't understand who the characters were, and a lot of inside jokes carry over from previous episodes. So just watching an episode here, an episode there, when they're in the middle of a story arc, it's not as intense as it is. It's a lot more subtle.
But the thing is,
but the engagement you get is watching it episode to episode.
But the thing of it is, though, each episode, for the most part, could stand alone. Yes.
No, I agree. It could stand alone, but if you're someone like Lurch, who I don't mean to typecast you, Lurch. But there's nothing. I'm assuming you're not into medical dramas.
No.
And I'm assuming you're not into generic Korean War dramas.
Well, see, that's the thing. I hate war movies.
Well, that's it. I'm getting to a point. So for a show like that, what has to captivate Lurch in order for him to get into it would have to be the character interaction. And if he's going into a show where everybody's just like, hey, hot lips, just whatever, and then you see people acting in ways that are strange that are not explained in that episode, you're gonna disengage. You would have to understand the character histories and the personalities and the stuff that they went through in order. Lurch is gonna have to, in order to be interested in the show, have some level of emotional attachment. So, am I right in that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So maybe then a different recommendation for Lurch would be to have him sit down and watch the first 5 episodes of the first season, and then if that doesn't grab him, try starting with the first episode when Sherman Potter and BJ joined.
What's kind of funny is that I have actually seen quite a bit of the show, just because when I was a kid,
there was a lot.
There was oftentimes there was only 3 channels and 1 TV in the house, and there were other people in the house that did like the show. So I did end up watching quite a bit of the show just by proxy because it
was on in the background.
Maybe I was I was done with my book from the library or whatever it was, and so I've seen the movie. I think I've seen most of the first season. I've probably seen 30 episodes of the show, and I've seen the movie.
See, because I would think the character of Hawkeye would really appeal to you.
I legitimately think that this is just a matter of taste.
I will say, I don't like the show, but Hawkeye was my favorite character of
Alan
My Hawkeye.
Alda
So
is a-
he's my favorite character of a show I don't like. Which net results in not enough content to entertain me for much. You know?
yeah.
I was just listing. Doc, I wasn't trying to say I wasn't trying to put forward a path of how we could get him to watch it. What I was trying to say before, whenever I was listing off that stuff, is that is the level of engagement we'd have to have for Lurch to enjoy the show, and Lurch would first have to be interested in engaging that much to be emotionally engaged.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the ways that might appeal is if he was to watch a few other things with Alan Alda in it, then it might draw him to watch it, because Alan Alda as an actor is amazing. And
I
He's a great actor.
I like Alan Alda. I've seen him in a few other things that I liked that I can't think of what they were anymore.
he was a bad guy in The Blacklist.
I think what Lurch is saying is that Alan Alda isn't enough for him to carry the show.
Which is funny, because the later 2/3 of the series, he had almost all the creative control on the show.
But like Angel's right. Like I don't care about medical drama stuff. Like I don't like House. I've seen some episodes of House. I didn't like it. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy.
I don't.
Hold on, Doc. For the sake of the show, let's move on.
Yeah.
I don't think we're changing Lurch's mind.
We're not going to change his mind. I will say I'm hot and cold when it comes to medical dramas. I like House. I like New Amsterdam.
I think the closest show I can think of that's, I don't know if conceptually is the right word, but I think the closest show I can think of that I do like that has a certain kind of comparable quality would probably be West Wing. I've seen the first 2 seasons of The West Wing, and I really enjoyed it. And it's it's a show that's just people at work, but it's a little bit more serious, so maybe it's not a comparable thing. I don't know what would be comparable. Spin City, maybe?
I don't know.
Scrubs was pretty funny. I've seen only a handful of episodes, but they're funny.
Being a medical comedy.
Scrubs is the best. Now, I want you to think of Scrubs' great-grandfather.
Yeah.
And that's the level of energy you're gonna get from MASH. It's great because the drama is amazing and real. It's visceral.
Yeah.
And the humor is realistic and sparse.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of how I'm getting from The West Wing. The West Wing is more drama, serious drama with comedy elements. It's got a couple of little slapstick moments, but MASH does. So it's kind of a similar writing style, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
And as my girlfriend stated in the chat, Alan Alda does have a podcast. So.
Oh, cool.
But anyway, we are.
So was it Hogan's Hero? Did you look that up? The actor of.
An actor from Hogan's Hero was murdered. Apparently, according to an article from 2019, it was an unsolved murder of Bob Crane, not Kane. Crane. Bob Kane's a Batman creator.
Right.
Yeah, I found an article called "The Tragic Unsolved Murder of Hogan's Hero Star Bob Crane." But it's a really long article, and it's one of those articles that has a ton of extra stuff, so it's had a hard time finding the specific thing or whatever. But yeah, it's sad. I don't know why it happened. I wonder if I can find a shorter article that's not a small novel.
I don't know. I think we lost.
I think I heard him say something about having to disconnect briefly.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. That is my From the Vault for the week, and like I said, it's specific.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
My Bluetooth disconnect running. And I couldn't hear anything.
Okay. Well, that is From the Vault.
Saying that the actor of Hogan from Hogan's Heroes was killed.
He was murdered, but it says it was an unsolved murder.
So that might just be a rumor about who they think might have done it, but it's not officially solved. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, MASH is my From the Vault for the week. See it or don't. I mean, that's true of any of these. But because of it being the 40th anniversary of the finale episode, and that being such a historic episode for TV, I wanted to point that out this week. And some of you will like it, some of you won't. But we're going to move on. And from this point on, we're going into our media section of the show, which means spoilers could happen.
Spoilers!
I'm getting an echo from somebody's mic.
Yeah, I think it's going from Angel.
So hold on a second. I'm my Bluetooth is fucking up because my map alerted me that there was a cop parked nearby, and whenever that happened, it cut all of the Bluetooth out again. So I'll be back.
Okay.
Well, is this? Oh, I was gonna say. I think this is a glitch with his rental he's in. I don't know if you got the news, but he was rear-ended not too long ago.
Yeah.
Like someone hit him.
Somebody said that.
He was on a date with his wife, and I think it was their anniversary or something. And someone rear-ended their car, put them both in the hospital a little bit, and totaled their car. So he's been driving a rental that he's not too terribly thrilled about.
As Allison says, that bites. Anyway,
yeah.
We are going into the spoiler section of the show. What we mainly talk about in this section is the recent CW-verse shows, which are coming to an end, as well as Disney Plus shows. We may talk about the latest movie, although we're going to put off the spoiler episode of Quantumania till next week, so Angel has a chance, because one of the reasons we invited Angel onto this show in the first place is he is really knowledgeable about Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and stuff, and so he has a lot of great insight to bring in. So we're going to wait until he's seen the movie so he can comment directly on it as well.
Yeah.
But we're going to go and talk about The Flash.
So, okay, I will make one little comment here for Angel, and knowing that you don't really care too much about spoilers, whatever, but it's something that appeals to you. There is a Godzilla joke in the movie.
That's great.
So, yeah, so what do you want to talk about?
Despite what the critics say, it's a great movie.
But here's what's crazy is, this is another one of those instances where the critics are, trashing it,
yeah,
but users are loving it.
Yeah, I don't care what the critics are saying. The audiences are eating it up. So
yeah.
The only ones that are really going against it audience-wise are those sheeple kites that just listen to the reviewers and stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of reviews, did you hear the latest episode of The Last of Us is getting review bombed? Being called woke filler.
Uh-huh. They've done that already. Wow. They did that with the one gay male couple episode.
Yeah.
They called that one woke filler.
If you see a gay couple, if you see two people of the same gender kiss in an episode, it gets review bombed as woke.
Yeah. Woke is a bad thing. I mean,
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with some woke content.
And you know what's funny is they call it filler. They act like this is new stuff or whatever. The newest episode, and I don't think we're ready to actually talk about the newest episode, but the newest episode is the DLC of the first game.
Yeah, and the thing is, most of the people who played the game have come on and said that this is an amazing adaptation of the game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We both played the game.
And
we're doing a really great job with it.
I don't play the game, but I've talked to a lot of people that do play the game, and they say it's an amazing adaptation of the game. So people need to get over themselves. woke, for one thing, is not a crime. In fact, woke is a good thing because it shows a more accurate representation of today. There are a lot of different people in the world today, and we got to remember to represent. Speaking of woke content,
they call it woke because the American dream for a lot of white people is living in white neighborhoods.
Right.
Oh my God.
A lot of white
wake the hell up.
Like the writer of Dilbert recently said. Did you hear about that, Doc?
No.
Scott Adams, the writer of Dilbert, had a racist rant recently, just a few days ago, where he called the black people in America a hate group and said this is why we need to live in neighborhoods that don't have black people in them.
Yep.
I have news for him. A lot of white people are a hate group too.
Yeah. So, like, he talked about how he deliberately, specifically moved into as white of a neighborhood as he could get. And he's like, unfortunately, there's still a few black people in the neighborhood, but you can't get away from it. But, you know, and he's like, it's been proven that the more black people you have in a neighborhood, the more dangerous it is. And he said, I think the exact quote was something like, you know, half of all black Americans hate white people, which means they're a hate group.
But
like,
he was referencing a faulty ballot or like vote. Yeah. So there was a specific way of a question that was asked that was like, do you support the notion that black people hate white people or something like that? I don't remember. And it was just like worded so weirdly that whenever a lot of people said yes, he's like, see, you know, or was it? Do you support the notion that people believe that, you know, black people hate, or you know what I mean? You know, that being white is bad. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It's leading questions. Yes.
Yeah. So he got fired. So his Dilbert cartoons are no longer being published.
Actually, all three modes of making money that he had, it wasn't just Dilbert. He's been let go from all three of the positions.
Yeah. And then afterwards, he made a tweet about it, and then in his tweet, he said something about how he now identifies as black.
Yeah, what a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. He also did a poll. I'm trying to remember what his poll was, but it was a really racist poll that he was doing. God, like, and you know, it's like Dilbert was my favorite, like, non-superhero comic strip.
For political
cartoons,
Dilbert was great.
Yeah.
That is like the world's most boring comic strip.
I've watched like every episode of the cartoon. I have it back at the house. I have like a 200-page book of Dilbert comic strips.
There was a cartoon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, Calvin and Hobbes was mine. I have every book of Bill Waters.
Or Far Side. Those two are my favorites.
So, yeah, I don't know how many pages it is, but I got a book. I got like a hardcover book. Maybe it's paperback, but I got like a pretty thick book of Dilbert comics.
I love Dilbert.
Okay, well, I am sorry that this is if you I'm sorry you liked him so much and now you have to like not support him anymore because really you supported him before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the other subject that must not be named just because. You know,
I never looked into who he is as a person or whatever. I just like, you know, I enjoyed the character, the cartoons and the comic strips, and so it was like, well,
it's a little segue to get to talk about Bill Watterson a little bit. But you know something because I did get to look into Bill Watterson, the creator of Calvin and Hobbes.
But we only have 8 minutes left, so we haven't even gone into.
I thought we were gonna do that.
Oh yeah, I guess he wants to do some media. You want to talk about the Flash?
Yeah, I do at least want to get into Flash, even if we don't get into The Last of Us. We want to at least talk about the episode of Flash this week. This was a bigger episode because this was the reveal episode where we see a and I can't pronounce the actress's name, that plays Batwoman, at the end of the episode, though, gets revealed as the Red Death character. They don't use the term Red Death yet, but we see the bat symbol more clearly. We hear Wayne Tech, and they talk to Gotham. So they've already started talking to Fox, his son, who's a regular character on Gotham, for Batwoman. We saw, like I said, the actress in the Red Death costume.
Without the helmet, we got to see the actual actress's face.
We got to see the betrayal of Frost's boyfriend, the boyfriend doing the betrayal and going over to the rogues side of things. We had
we should start off. This was a heist episode,
and it featured a lot of rogues on both sides.
Yeah. So there's a heist episode where they figured out that the bad guys are trying to build a cosmic treadmill, and they're missing one component. Like every season, there's a bad guy that's stealing tech, and they're missing one component. I swear to God, this happens every season, if not twice. So they determine they're trying to build this thing, and there's only one of these things that exists, and it's in the DOD, I think, right? Department of Defense facility. And like every time this happens in the past, what they need to do to prevent the bad guys from getting it is to steal it first.
Yep. And they have to bring...
It wasn't a bad episode, it was just a predictable episode.
They have to bring together a team because there are 4 hurdles, and they need 4 specific skill sets to get over these hurdles. So the Pied Piper...
What was that?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
At this point, what possible thing can keep the Flash out? He could phase through anything.
They have a meta-human dampener in the facility that prevents him from using his powers.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
So he has to get...
And that meta-human dampener has 4 different power sources
that they have
throughout the facility, and all 4 need to be shut down to shut down the dampener at the same time. And they're different kinds of power sources that require different skills to disable. And so in order to disable them, he finds 4 other meta-humans, all of which are rogues, previously were criminals in past episodes, and convinces them to work together to disable all 4 of them at the same time so he can then steal it.
Yeah, so he brings them together. And the actual initial plan is the Pied Pipers, which, if you remember from the last episode, he was being attacked directly by the violinist, the fiddler. And so the Pied Piper wants the tech to upgrade his gloves so that he can do better in defending his people from the fiddler. Then he gets together he brings Goldfish.
Fiddler?
What?
Sorry. I said, what's the fiddler?
Yeah, she's a fiddler.
Sorry, you said Pied Piper and then the fiddler. I was just making a joke.
Yeah.
The fiddler. I'm sorry.
Then
it's whatever. Go on. You guys are into something.
They get Goldface, Pied Piper, and I don't remember what his one dude's code name was, but it was one of the guys that he stopped that had seismic kind of magma.
Okay, yeah, the volcano guy. I find it kind of weird that they call him a rogue, because he was never really a bad guy. He just, with his newly developed powers, he accidentally killed a couple of people and then accidentally caused a volcano to happen under the city. He didn't mean to.
But they get him, and then they get Frost's ex-boyfriend to be the 4 keys to unlock the...
They get him the day after they piss him off by killing his girlfriend in his eyes.
Or not resurrecting his girlfriend is the main thing. But
not resurrecting his girlfriend, which he could perceive as basically killing his girlfriend.
Not sacrificing the new sister to bring her back is ultimately what it came down to.
Yeah, that's the truth of the matter. Is he's mad because they wouldn't let him sacrifice someone to bring his girlfriend back.
And there's some interesting byplay in this one, like the seismic guy having kind of a crush thing with the fiddler. She starts off by bad mouthing the band on his shirt, and then they start bonding over bands that are actually good. And then they're like, yeah, see in the mosh pit, hot stuff. And
yeah, that was kind of funny. The two of them in the middle of the fight, they're flirting.
I like that interplay and stuff. So there was very much a lovelorn rogues meet kind of moment, just to break some of the stuff up.
Mid-fight meet cute.
Just call Barry Allen OK Cupid now. That's his name.
And at the end of the episode, they're faced off, the two sets of rogues, and suddenly a speedster breaks it all up, and that's when they introduce the Red Death character to the good guys. And we get an idea that there's an evil speedster involved, because before they didn't realize there's an evil speedster. They knew that.
Hold on a second. They knew it was a cosmic treadmill, right?
They knew that a cosmic treadmill.
Only
I was going to say something about that.
Cosmic treadmill.
Only, as far as I know, only a speedster can make use of a cosmic treadmill.
But they never confirmed a speedster.
Why didn't Barry guess that before? I feel like he should have said, it looks like they're building a cosmic treadmill. It sounds like they're working for another speedster. Like, I feel like that line should have happened in this episode.
He did say near the end of the episode, he said Thawne, because he thought that another iteration of the Reverse Flash had shown up, or a new representation
can I say
of the Reverse Force.
It sounds like a speedster is the single most common superpower in this universe.
I mean, I think that's true in Flash comics anyway.
Target the Flash because he's the avatar of the good Speed Force. So the people with the negative Speed Force, or with
I want to agree with your point until I remember that almost every superhero has that problem. Most of so many of Superman's villains are Kryptonians.
Yeah.
Most of Iron Man's villains are tech people that stole parts of his suit. Oh, we lost him. Anyway.
And Wonder Woman has gone against rogue Amazonians before, and Aquaman fought Mantis, Black Mantis, a water-based villain.
I mean, it's more than just the one. It's just like there's a bunch of them, Anyway, you fight with your similar things. I mean, the Green Lantern's a good one. Green Lantern, they can fight anything in the space, but they also fight like 8 other different colored lanterns.
Specifically, the Yellow Lanterns are like their arch enemies. But yeah.
Yeah. I'll say, so this new episode was better than the second episode. Not as good as the first episode, but better than the second episode. It wasn't a bad episode. Like I said, it was a predictable episode. Because, pretty quickly on, as soon as it came up to, this is going to be a heist, and they're getting rogues.
Well, that's because in this episode, unlike the second episode, the cast were themselves. In the second episode, they were not acting in character at all. They were taking way too long to do things that they normally would have done in 5 minutes. And like we talked about all last week.
Yeah. I think they did do a better job of being in character this time around. One thing that I thought was amusing that I kind of appreciated was all 4 of the rogues wanted that machine, right? The thing that they were stealing.
More money.
And Barry's like, no one's keeping it. He's like, well, then why are we stealing it? To keep the bad guys from getting it, because we don't want them to destroy the timeline. He's like, well, what are we going to do with it afterwards?
So can I please an observation? I have seen you guys wave away a lot of things that would make you otherwise you would say this is a terrible movie, this is a terrible show, for these very large faults that you are just hand waving away for the Flash. Something like a lot of these are like really large plot holes that systematically every time I hear you guys talk about these shows, like Arrowverse in general, I think it just sounds bad.
The thing about it is, and I understand where you're coming from, because yes, if you looked at just the holes we point out, yeah, we would be panning these shows. But
I don't know if it's as much of hand-waving away as much as we have a finite amount of time to talk about it, and delving too much into every problem
we do
would
bring
be
up
the whole
problems.
show.
But the majority of the writing on these shows are really, really good. It really is.
I think they're...
Okay. They stopped being good around like the third season. The fourth season, like it started getting repetitive, and at that
there
point,
is a repetition. We'll give you that. They almost always end up, like Lurch said, having to get that one component to stop the bad guy. It's a super science component. They have to team up with some bad guys to do it, or
it sounds like this is Stockholm syndrome, that you guys are so invested and so deep in. You feel obligated to hold it against itself, as opposed to this is what it really is. It's a steaming pile of garbage, and we should be glad that it's gone.
I even put it up above Legends of Tomorrow. I love it.
Oh, okay. So speaking of so there's a crossover coming up that I saw a preview for that I'm really looking forward to. They're doing a crossover with Powerless. Did you ever watch that show?
I love Powerless.
That was a legit fun show.
You can watch it on
WC. It's a group of people. Okay, it's Alan Tudyk is one of the stars. Alan Tudyk plays Bruce Wayne's cousin.
Right.
And so it's about a group of people that work for Wayne Tech, but they're not in Gotham. They're in another city. But they work for a certain division of Wayne Tech that's supposed to be like developing equipment for civilians to help them survive
in a lot
superhero villain threats.
Version of Damage Control.
Ooh. Yeah, I've heard of that show. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's really funny.
As hell.
It got canceled after one season, and I was like, "That's a damn shame. That's one of the best DC shows you have."
The reason why they do that is because the more time and effort you put into a show tends to be the more expensive it is. So the better shows tend to like get fucking cut.
What's weird is it doesn't have to be that expensive because it wasn't about the superheroes. It was a comedy workplace show.
Yeah, there was a lot of
didn't it have like a lot of big name actors?
No. Alan Tudyk
had TV actors.
Like the biggest.
I mean, Alan Tudyk is a movie star.
But he was
he's the biggest name in it, and he does
he is a household name.
Yeah.
But
he we have we also have the guy who played in I hate that I'm forgetting his name. He played Abed in Community.
Oh yeah, him.
Yeah.
He was one of the other stars for the show.
But
that sounds fun. I love that guy.
And it's got what's his first name? Something Funches. The guy who does the voice of King Shark in the Harley Quinn cartoon.
Yeah.
Ron Funches, that guy's funny as fuck. Anyway.
Yeah, that sounds like an all-star cast. Yeah.
It's a great show.
But yeah, it was hilarious.
There's not a lot of special effects, really.
I wouldn't think it would be the practical effects. The second you said Alan Tudyk, I'm like, well, that dude is in big movies.
And
that dude is in Moana. That dude is in.
He was a chicken in Moana.
But
he was paid a lot to be a chicken in Moana from his name. He was in a night
sign on to TV series for less than some other big names because he enjoyed.
Yeah, he was the main villain of the first season of Doom Patrol.
Yeah, but he was only in one season.
But he enjoys a lot.
He had the occasional reemergence.
He enjoys a lot of these roles, so he'll sign on for less than a lot of bigger name actors.
I would have to have you cite that. because that's not a him thing. That's a his manager looking out for his best interest thing.
No, but he will take a smaller salary.
I get what you're saying. I would need to see that in writing to believe that.
Well, he said it in a couple of interviews that.
Okay, well, I'm open to reading it.
He will take TV roles that other bigger actors would ask a lot more money for because he enjoys the script. He said that him and Nathan Fillion have both said
isn't his main thing these days that Alien show? Citizen Alien?
Resident Alien.
Resident Alien on Sci-Fi Channel?
Yeah. And he's the star of that, too. He's not always the star, but he's a good supporting actor, too.
Yeah, he's always like an out there character. He's always got like an extreme. But you know, like that would be a.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk is a big name.
He is.
And 100%, that big name carries a lot of money. And he would be.
I don't think he makes as much money as you think he does.
Yeah, he.
I think that people. I think whenever you said Alan Tudyk was in it, it made me want to watch it, and that is
a great
his work. That is his value that he brings to a TV show, and that's how they measure how much you pay somebody.
Well, you can watch the whole thing on CWC, so definitely go watch it if you haven't had a chance. It's hilarious. It's too short. The biggest drawback is the fact that it ends too soon. But otherwise,
it looks like Alan Tudyk is worth about $2 million, like his net worth, and it seems like he made like $300,000 last year.
Really?
Yeah. And
why?
The actor who played Sheldon was making like $2 million an episode, I think.
Because he has said in interviews that he will take a role that he really likes. Not because of the paycheck, but because he really likes the role. And he will.
The actor who played Raymond Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond made like $1.6 million an episode.
You mean Ray Romano?
Yeah, Ray Romano.
Yeah, he is the actor that played Ray in Ray Romano.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But yeah, so anyway, I forgot to even change the thing to the flash image. But we're about done. It's after 10 o'clock. We didn't get to The Last of Us again, but that's going to be such an involved one. We almost are going to wait till the series is over and dedicate an episode or two to talk about The Last of Us, probably.
I honestly do think that's probably what's going to happen.
That's probably for the best, because I need to rewatch. I've fallen asleep through a few episodes because they're so involved, and my sleep.
That's not good advertising.
Well, no, that's my chronic fatigue. It's not the fault of the show. Great shows can still put me to sleep because of chronic fatigue syndrome. And then I go back and I rewatch them and stuff. But
here's for Moana, Alan Tudyk was paid $105,000 to be the chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's just me then who likes him.
Oh no.
He's really big in nerd communities, but outside of that, he's not really a household name.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Interesting. I really thought he was.
If I say Alan Tudyk to my mom, she's gonna have no idea who the fuck I'm talking about.
Right.
But
But you say it in a nerd community.
Consider me proven wrong. See, that surprises the fuck out of me, but at least now I know.
A lot of people don't consider Nathan Fillion a big actor, but in the nerd community, we all know who Nathan Fillion is.
Yeah, I know him from the Joss Whedon thing that was
Sing-along blog?
Yeah, Dr. Horrible Sing-along blog. That's how I know Nathan Fillion.
What's funny is they both really got their big starts on Firefly together.
Yeah, Firefly, Castle, The Rookie. I mean, he's in a lot of things.
Nathan Fillion shows on here that he's worth about $20 million. About 10 times as much as Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
I mean, Alan Tudyk is still a millionaire, so good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's still doing great.
Nathan Fillion.
Honestly, personally, I like Alan Tudyk more than Nathan Fillion.
I agree with
and
you.
Nathan
I'm more
Fillion's
likely
got,
to watch something with his name attached to it than Nathan, even though I really like Nathan Fillion still.
Nathan Fillion's got like 1.7 million followers, but you know, I don't know what Tudyk's numbers are. Anyway, it's after 10 o'clock. It's 13 minutes after. So we're going to go ahead and call it. We will, in the future here, probably once The Last of Us is over with, we will schedule a 1 to 2 episode featurette on The Last of Us. And it really deserves its own featurette because it's such an amazing show. I think we'll all agree. And next week, we're going to aim for talking about Quantumania, and it'll be our spoiler episode. I probably won't have seen it again by then, but there's a chance I might see it again. I'm supposed to go see Cocaine Bear on Friday, though. I'm waiting on Ralphie's response, but Cocaine Bear is probably what I'm going to go see.
I currently have specimens in the back, so I'm going to have to get going.
Alrighty.
We will let everybody go. Thank you for viewing. We will see you again, hopefully next week, barring any complications. Same back time, same bat channel, same wonderful co-host. Check you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.